Neighbor tells you about the unstable man in the cul-de-sac who claims to have been abducted by aliens. And then there's the woman in town who claims to see Bigfoot all the time. Your boss, who you greatly admire, confides in you that he has started speaking with his wife daily when he gets home from work. She died 8 years ago. It's hard to believe this stuff, and you write these stories off as overactive imaginations. Are these people seeking attention, or are they a bit unstable? No matter what you think, if you're like me, you walk away wondering, what if that was true? The What If It's True podcast features stories by ordinary people like you and me. Something has happened to them, something so strange they are in agony unless they tell others. My name is Cameron Buckner, and the What If It's True podcast is available at whatifitstruepodcast.com and on all available podcast apps.
Mark, we're live.
We are live. It's Monday night, Larry.
It's Monday night. At least a couple more times, ain't it?
Yeah.
We're lucky to made it here, ain't we?
Yeah, we are. And
after this weekend.
I tell you, before we get into that, I got to say that I got my first Christmas card.
How about that?
This year, and it came from Katie G and her husband, and they're just really nice people. I got to meet them in Gatlinburg, and so it was a nice surprise to get my one and only Christmas card this year. Larry, it's good to be the king.
That's right. You know who I am. I'm the little boy with a bucket going around. You remember him?
Yeah, I remember him.
Oh, that was a great movie. I need to watch that again sometime.
Yeah.
The jig is up and gone. Oh, man. What a stressful weekend.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I did Friday night, Mark. Friday night, I'm sitting here minding my own business, watching TV. You know I'm old, so about 9:30 or so, I'm planning on going to bed, even though it's Friday night, because I ain't seen a Friday night since I was about 21. Anyway, my cousin texts me and says, man, are you watching this weather? I'm like, no, what's going on? And he tells me an EF4 tornado had just went through Sandburg, which is a town I used to work before I transferred down to Memphis. It hit Sandburg and wiped it out from one end to the other. And I'm like, no way. He said, yeah, it's on its way to Woodland Mills right now. And I'm thinking, I got a buddy that I worked with that lives in Woodland Mills. So I text him, are you okay? And he texted me back a little bit later and said, yeah, we're fine. It went a little bit north of us. So I'm looking at where it's going. And my son lives close to Woodland Mills. So I text him to see where he's at. And he'd gone to his mother's up in west of Fulton, Kentucky. And I'm thinking, crap, that's where this thing's heading. So I checked with my daughter, where are you at? Because she lives in Fulton. And she said, I'm at home. And she don't even know anything's going on. And my son calls me and tells me he's at my ex-wife's, his mama's. And I'm like, good. You know, it's a bigger house. Hopefully you'll be safe there, even though he's closer to the storm now. And I called my daughter. They said they tried to get her to go over there, and she wouldn't go over there. And I called her because she lives in a small wood frame house. And I'm like, look, this is a monster tornado coming. Your house ain't going to withstand it if it comes through there. You need to get somewhere else. And I scared her to death because I'm the one that goes to bed when the storms are coming and go to sleep and wake up the next day and everything's all peachy normally. This time it wasn't that peachy. But anyway, I told her to stay where she was at and watch the radar, and it went around to the northwest of her. So I thought, well, all right, good. It's clear of my family. And then all of a sudden, you get a report that there's one that just hit another town up in northwest Tennessee, Kenton, and it's going around to Sharon and Dresden. Dresden is where most of my other family lives, my uncle, my sister, cousins. And I'm like, great. So now I got to worry about them. And my cousin that lives there texts me, restaurant we eat at just got wiped out. It went downtown, took out most of Dresden. And I'm like, well, if it went that way, I know my sister and my uncles and my cousins are safe because they don't live downtown. They live south of town. So I'm like, all right, dodge that one. So then where I'm living now, the tornado sirens start going off. And I'm like, oh, so I'm up next. And I look on the weather report and it said one had hit set down in Bartlett and Germantown, and it was headed to Millington and Atoka. But I live west of those. So I'm like, well.
But I live in Atoka.
You live in Atoka.
And Shelly live in Bartlett.
Right. But Shelly was somewhere else at that time. And we already knew that. But man, I get my little yoga mat and my pillow and go in the hallway, and I lay down in the hallway, and the sirens just keep going off for 30, 40 minutes. And I look at the radar and I notice it's all past. And I'm like, okay, hopefully this is it for the night. But it wasn't. Then poor Shelly's in Lexington, Tennessee, and about 2:00 in the morning, they have one hit there, and I'll let Shelly tell that story. But Mark, where were you whenever this stuff was going on here and it went across Millington and Atoka?
Well, I watched the news for about 45 minutes, and I started getting sleepy. So me and Zeta, my little dog, we went upstairs and went to bed. Slept right through it. Yeah, slept right through it. I had one friend tell me, he said, well, you've got a good conscience then.
Yeah, that's pretty much right. Well, let's bring Shelly on here and let her tell what she did.
Hey guys.
Shelly.
Hey. What are y'all doing?
Well, we're waiting on you to tell what happened to you.
All right, I'll get right in it. We were supposed to go to Alabama last weekend. That got canceled on account of the weather.
Yeah.
So that was a big disappointment. But I decided to go out of town. My sister and I go out of town. We get a group of girls and we go up about an hour and 45 minutes away and rent a house, and we eat and, watch movies, and it's just girl time for the weekend. So instead of going, since the Alabama trip got canceled, I thought, well, I'll just go up there to Lexington. So I drove up there Friday evening. And of course we knew the storms were going to be bad, but we live in the area we live in the South. We get a lot of tornado warnings, sightings, storms, things like that. They hit here and there around our area. So we really didn't think much about it. The girl that owns the house, she rents the house out to us. She lives down the road just a little ways. And she had brought us flashlights. She said, it's supposed to be bad. Here's some flashlights because the power's gone out before. So, we'll just keep in touch. So, we just watched movies or whatever. So we went to bed probably about 1:30 that Friday night. And probably, 30 minutes later, I get one of those alerts on my phone, those loud ones that wake you up, like it's a
Yeah.
Amber Alert or whatever. Well, it was about the weather, and it kind of confused me because I was half asleep. But I thought it might have been for my area because that's what my phone was tied to, the Memphis area. And about 10 seconds later, Sherry, the girl, called me and said, "Did you get that notification?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, it's coming this way. It's going to be bad. Just be cautious, be aware." So I said, "Okay." So she sent me a notification, and we had about 10 minutes before it's supposed to hit. So, of course, you're not expecting that. We get warnings all the time. I'm thinking, oh, no big deal. It's going to blow over.
Yeah.
So I laid in bed for about 5 minutes, and we had about 5 minutes to go. And I thought, well, I guess I better get up and put some shoes on at least. And I found a sweatshirt. I didn't want to be, if I got stuck outside, I didn't want to be freezing. So me and two other girls, we got in a closet, and it really wasn't that, when you hear that front go through, it was all calm, but when you hear that front go through, all the leaves are blowing everywhere and the limbs, and it's coming through. And I heard this like low rumble noise, and you're not sure if that's exactly what you think it is. And it started getting a little louder. And so we were in the closet. It was kind of hard to hear. And I said, "Is that what I think it is?" And they were like, "Yeah, I think so. I think it's a tornado." And we weren't nervous or anything. We were just nervous. We weren't afraid. We were just waiting to see what would happen. So it kind of went away a little bit. And then all of a sudden it started getting louder and louder. And we were just sitting there looking at each other, just wait. You're just waiting for something to happen. I'm waiting to hear glass break or whatever. Yeah. And just right when it was about to get too loud for me, it went away. So I knew that it was really close, but thank goodness the house we were in, nothing happened to. There was a lot of limbs and things blown around. So the first thing, of course, the power went out. The first thing we did was grab our flashlights. I ran out and checked my truck because I didn't want a tree across my truck.
Yeah.
So all the vehicles were safe. But I looked there in front of the house. There's like a big field. These people raise cows, our friend. And over just a little ways off, there's some houses around the road. And a little ways off, I saw, lights. They kept flashing around and looking around. And I thought, oh, wow, there's a house over there that might have gotten hit. And they're looking, for somebody or whatever. The lady called us and asked if we're okay. And we said, yeah. She said, well, we're okay, but our house just got hit. Well, it was them. They were right over there across the field. Yeah. So of course we were worried about them, but the next day, we went to bed. Finally, after a while, you just go to bed in the dark. There's nothing else to do. The next day we went out looking around, and she was the only one in that area that got hit. But we had damage on this side of our house, and on the other side of the house, we had telephone poles, the trees blown over, and it totally missed us. But, of course, we're very grateful that everybody's okay. And prayers for everybody else that was in the tornado. But that's my tornado story.
I know that EF4, they said, went 250 miles, stayed on the ground for over an hour, and it didn't do nothing but devastate. Now, I'm about to show some pictures. This is from Sandburg. It's a restaurant that I've eaten at. You know me, I've ate at most every one of them in West Tennessee. But man, Sandburg, this is Dresden, Tennessee here. And it just looks like a bombing run went through there. And this is the tornado that went through, the EF4 that went through Sandburg. It went through Woodland Mills. It's the one that devastated Mayfield, and then it went through Benton and Land Between the Lakes. And I've seen some pictures of Land Between the Lakes around Emmonsbury. Man, it's trees flattened everywhere.
Wow.
And I was gonna pull them up so people could see them, but it's unbelievable. It looks like an atomic bomb hit that woods, and it just flattened everything. It's crazy.
Wow.
But
well, in that Mayfield area, okay, the last time we went camping and we went back up through Kentucky to leave, wasn't that Mayfield where we stopped and ate at that restaurant? Because I looked it up, and
that was Murray.
Are you okay? I knew it started with an M, and it was up in Kentucky. So
yeah, that was Murray. Mayfield is halfway between Murray and Fulton.
Okay.
basically. Kind of, sort of. If you're going south, west.
Well, I know you know that area well.
Yeah. But Mayfield and Dresden probably got hit the hardest out of all. I'm not sure what. I know Benton got hit also, but whenever you see stuff like this, I don't know how many times I've sat in my house and thought, oh, I'll be okay. Man, if something that strong hits, the only reason you're going to be okay is because the good Lord allows you to be okay.
Yeah. And I thought it went by Dan and Vicky's house. I was worried about them. It went supposedly through Troy.
Well, it went close. Sandburg was as close, and Kenton. It went north and south of Dan and Vicky.
Good.
The one that went south probably got closer to them than the big one that went north. But still.
Yeah.
It was a bad deal. But it made us think again of what Bigfoot does during these things. I mean, because these things just drop out of the air down and start devastating. And it ain't like they get a warning on their cell phone that say they're coming. Most animals are in tune with the barometric pressure and all that. So I don't know what the barometric pressure does during a tornado. I'm sure it drops, but probably drastically. But does that give them enough time to do anything?
You know, I think so. I think science supports that. But, you know, I just want to say that how much I appreciate everybody that called and checked on us. I know Bradley called me first thing that morning. Scott Espinosa. There was just so many people, you know, sending calls and messages and asking if we were okay. And
yeah, I freaked everybody out because I didn't wake up till about 11 because I was so stressed out and stayed up so late. I slept 11 and everybody was afraid something happened to me, but only the good die young.
But did it actually go through where we're planning on having the meet and eat?
No.
Did it go north? It went north of that?
It went north of that.
Okay.
Probably a good 10 miles north, probably. Shelly's going to look it up and tell you.
No, I'm about to.
She is.
Bama just messaged me. He said, I got to get on the chat or else. No, he didn't. I'm gonna. Is it all right if I go? I'm gonna go man the chat. Is that okay?
Well, hey, before you go,
no,
you're supposed to talk about the meat and eat.
Okay. I just didn't want to change subjects right in the middle of the show.
We're gonna get back on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so what do you want to? Okay, the meet and greet is March 10th through the 13th. It's near the Tennessee-Kentucky state line for anybody that wants to know the general area to get there, your time-wise. What else?
Give them the coordinates.
There. Well, it's kind of an undercover campground anyway. It's hard to find. There are no fees. There is a daily fee that the LBL charges. We are covering this shindig for everybody.
What do you mean?
So, what?
We ain't making money off this?
It means it means I've already paid it, Larry.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Well, money bags.
Yeah. We've already
can't hide money.
Can't hide money.
Well, it's from everybody's donations. You know, people donate to the channel, the channels every time, and it goes for things like this, so we can provide for every people, for everybody, for batteries, for gas, but for events, because we don't want to charge you guys. We want y'all to show up and have a good time. We're just going to sit around the campfire with you. We're going to get to know each other. And I was thinking today we're going to have to do the dork thing and get name tags, because I'm not going to be able to keep up with everybody. So we're going to have my name is, I'll come up with something. Maybe we just write a magic marker on our arms.
Let's get out of hand. Name tag's a lot better.
Well, I like the campground, but the road, there's a gravel road going in there, and they did say there's a creek crossing there, and we didn't have any problems getting across there. It's a little bumpy, but they said if it rains a lot, then we could get stuck in there. So, March weather, you have no idea what it's going to be like. It could be rainy or cold or calm or both or whatever. So we'll just have to keep an eye on the weather.
Yeah, and the road's good enough for cars.
Yes.
You don't need a four-wheel drive.
No. But if you've got a car that's really low to the ground, I know Naomi, when her and Brad came, their car sat really low to the ground, and they were afraid to cross it.
Oh, really?
So yeah, and
man, they should have just let me drive.
You would have just stomped into the firewall
right on through there. But that's what they're made for.
But unless you've got a little beady car, then I wouldn't worry about it. If you've got an average size sedan, you'll be able to cross the little bridge going across.
Yeah. And I got a Jeep. Mark's got a four-wheel drive truck. Yeah. We'll get you over there.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Well, and another thing, I don't know if I mentioned this, we are going to sit around and eat and visit. This is not an expedition. We're not running around. If you want to run around, that is fine with us. We can direct you. You can research the area. Anywhere you go is going to be fine at LBL. But this is going to be a relaxing camp out time for us. So just keep that in mind. We're just going to meet and eat.
There won't be a speaker at 12 and at 1 and at 2 and at 3. Nothing like that. It's just going to be us camping and having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but like Shelly said, if you want to go hike an area and check it out, you're welcome to go anywhere. But don't drag me away from the food, all I'm
saying. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. What was I forgetting, guys? How to get in touch with us. We're on Facebook on the Sawdust Beast Facebook group. You can look us up there. If you are not on Facebook, we can give you our when I get in the chat, we can give you our email address and you can contact me there. We're just going to get a general head count. You don't have to tell me now. We just set the dates up early so you can get your vacation time in and plan far enough in advance. But we plan on we've already got a lot of people coming. So you just let us know whenever you're ready to commit. And like I said, we have our email address everywhere. Mark posts it. I'll post it in the chat too. So we'd love to have you.
Definitely.
I see you just threw KDG up there.
Yeah.
Thank you for my Christmas card, KDG. It's the only one that I have gotten this year.
And it's the only one you're getting.
Probably so.
BF Bud wants to know, does anybody play cornhole, or is that just an Ohio thing? Well, BF Bud, just be careful saying cornhole around Mark, because sometimes he thinks wrong idea. But yes, the game cornhole, people will play. We do play that down here.
I played it down in the Everglades. It's a lot of fun.
Yep. You kept cheating, though. You can't get 2 foot from it. You're supposed to stand way off. Cornholio. Bama wanted to play strip cornhole. All right, but you can find us again. Where, Shelly?
On Facebook, Sawdust Beast group page. You have to join that because it's a private group. Or email us at beast.analyst.team@gmail.com. And we'll hook you up. It'll be fun. Love to meet everybody.
She will put both those links in the chat here in a second. Ain't
Yep.
that right?
Yep. After you let me go.
Are you ready to go?
Whenever you are.
All right. Show's over, folks. We'll see
Bye,
you.
guys. See you later.
Bye, Shelly.
Bye.
All right, Mark. Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah. What you did the thumbnail for, does weather and catastrophic events affect Bigfoot? And I think that everybody has heard of, like when, let's say, a tornado or an earthquake comes through, that pets, they will go missing right before bad weather.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be wise to notice animal behavior when there is a threat of bad weather. I remember when I was a kid, and I was at home by myself, and the news was on, and I was sitting there watching the news. The anchorman that was on the Memphis news, I knew him. I went to school with his girls, and I remember that we had a parakeet, and this parakeet just went ballistic in the cage. And I was looking at the parakeet and going, what in the world's going on? And probably about 30 seconds later, an earthquake hit. And I remember looking at the news and seeing the man that I knew that was anchoring the news, and he just kind of lost it on there live on the air, because it was one of them shakers, you know.
Yeah.
And so I guess that was it's something that always stuck with me about that parakeet before the earthquake hit.
Yeah.
You know, they just went nuts. And so I think that's something that we should be aware of. You know, have your head on a swivel if the dog or the cat starts acting anxious or anything like that.
Yeah, I know a lot of times you can go by a cow pasture, and if the herd's all laying down, the farmer will tell you it's fixing to rain. They're trying to keep their bed dry, so when it rains, they got somewhere dry to lay down.
Yeah.
It's the same. Deer will go out and feed hours before a change in the weather. That's the time hunters like to hunt. And there's so many different things that happen. You know, fishermen like to fish hours before a storm comes in. I'm the one that still tries to fish while the storm's going on, but but through all this, you still have a catastrophic event like this tornado that hits. And how is something going to get away from a 2-mile wide tornado that's going through at 50 miles an hour?
Yeah.
It's inevitable that animals are going to die. You see, which cows are normally in a cow pasture and they got limited room to go where they need to. So you oftentimes hear of cattle getting killed in a tornado. You hear of cattle being around one lone tree in the pasture to get under it from the weather. and it gets hit by lightning and it kills 30 or 40. You have that happen.
Yeah.
And a Bigfoot, I mean, people put them in some people put them in a higher level of supernatural ability and this and that. But I'm telling you, if 1,000,000 volts comes down out of the sky in faster than a tenth of a second or however fast it is, you're not going to be able to wiggle your nose or your ears and blink out to another dimension or whatever, and you ain't going to be able to outrun it.
Well, I think that also, like you're talking about cattle. Now, they are in enclosed paddocks.
Yeah.
For the most part. But you look back in 2004 when the tsunami hit Southeast Asia. I mean, there was like over 200,000 people that got killed. But the odd thing is, there was hardly any wild animals that died. And there are witnesses that say that like dogs and elephants, antelopes and bats, and even flamingos were fleeing the scene before the waves hit. Yeah. And so I don't think that it has to be supernatural powers. You know, it's something that we should look to science to see, you know, what these animals do, including Bigfoot, right, whenever a disaster is about to hit and how they're able to sense it.
Yeah. I know you hear limited stories about people that find a Bigfoot dead under a tree or dead because of a volcanic eruption or whatever. And I've got one story of one that was supposedly found dead in a tree. I'm going to read real quick. It comes from Bigfoot Ballyhoo. I don't know if it's 100% true or not, but who knows if every story is 100% true or not. But here it goes. Animal found under a tree in 1962 after a storm in Oregon. In 62, this fellow worked, Floyd Griffey, and was present when the animal was found on the Dew Ridge Spur. He didn't have any photos of the thing, but also remembered many photos taken of the ape-like thing. That thing was nothing anybody in his crew had ever seen before. It was some sort of ape-human mixture and a female. He remembers the thing was badly matted with black hair and clearly had hands and feet on it. Its face was somewhat human, like with a flat nose and very dark leather-like skin on it. It smelled awful because it had been dead for a few weeks. It was badly smashed by the old-growth fir tree that crushed it. After the tree was cut off of it, the thing was hoisted by a front-end loader in the back of a Forest Service flatbed truck and hauled off. At the time, we all thought it would be all over TV and radio about it, but we never saw any more of it ever. This creature was 7 or 8 foot in height and over 500 pounds in weight. It was a big animal with large arms and barrel-chested, it seems. Most of the damage to it was on the left side and mid-body. One other thing, the man that was in charge working for the Forest Service was Kurt, or maybe Kirk. He don't remember. I don't think any of us at the time thought the Forest Service might try to hide it because many people had already seen it. But they hid it, if that's a true story. And I don't know if it's a true story or not. But there you go. And I've heard other stories of them finding a dead Bigfoot in the forest, and people go out to get somebody to come back and the body's gone. Yeah. You know, if they died from natural causes or whatever. But
and wildfires.
Yeah.
You know. people that are just tuning in are going to wonder what Bama Murdoch's talking about, Larry.
Man, there ain't no telling what he's talking
No,
about.
you got it up on the screen.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, folks. I got distracted. That was my yearly reading right there.
You know, it's really interesting to me that the USGS says that there is no connection between animal behavior and natural disasters. And I'm not saying that animals have a sixth sense or a supernatural power, but what I am saying is animals are more in tune to their senses. And it's a fact that animals hear sounds and feel vibrations that we can't hear or feel. And, you know, really, like, especially like infrasonic low pitch vibrations that are made by earthquakes and storms, volcanoes, tornadoes, even avalanches. So with their greater sensitivity that they have with their senses, it just makes sense to me that these animals would perceive what's coming before humans can.
Oh, I totally agree with that. They are more in tune with everything around them and pay attention to those things than we do. We'll get a gut feeling about something weird, and what do? We just keep forging on because we ain't as in tune to it as they are. But they have to be, because it's life and death for them every day. They got stuff out there trying to kill them and everything else. So they are very in tune. You know, I read Randy's comment here. I've never had a bad night at LBL back in the early to mid 90s. Maybe he meant I had a bad night. I don't know. But do you remember the last time me, you, Bama, Jamie, and us were at LBL? It wasn't the very last time. It was the time before.
Okay.
Last winter.
Yeah.
No, it's last summer. And that tornado come through that night while we were camping.
Yeah. You know, and that was weird because I had bought a new teepee tent. And so you're in a new tent and you're wondering, I'm wondering how this thing's going to hold up and if trees are going to come down on me. And I remember seeing the shell of the tent. It would suck in and then it would blow out. And it would suck in and then it would blow out. And it just kept doing that. And I'm just laying there and I cut on a light and I'm just watching it. And then I could hear you talking to John Garrison and I think Scott Espinosa. I'm not sure. But Barry Browning.
Yep, it was Barry.
And I could hear y'all standing outside talking. And I thought, I'm just going to lay here and see what this tent does. But, you know, that tent held up really good.
Yeah, mine did too. The air mattress was doing that, but it held up good. I was like, what in the world? I've rode out tornadoes in a lot of places, but not in a tent.
Not in a tent.
But we had no choice. We were there. The only thing we could have done is went to the little outhouse.
Yeah.
And I don't want to die in the bottom of an outhouse. You know, I'd rather just go in the tent and get slammed up against a tree and it be over than drowned in somebody's feces. It's just me, though. Just me. But if you're in a campground, that's where they tell you to go because the outhouses are block buildings normally. And that's where they want you to go if something happens. But we didn't have time. I
Yeah.
was asleep and my phone went off with that severe weather warning. And I got out and told Barry and John, there's a tornado coming this way. And within a minute of me saying that and getting back in the tent, it hit.
Yeah.
And it was lit up worse than Iraq during the Gulf War. It was crazy with the lightning and all that.
Yeah.
But within what, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, it's all over with.
All over with. I rolled over and went back to sleep.
Yep. And then the next day we rode out, and within what, a mile, 2 miles, there's trees down, power lines down.
Yeah. Yeah. We had to dodge stuff and go off road all the way out of LBL.
Man, LBL gets hit by tornadoes a lot. So keep that in mind in March. If there's severe weather, be on the alert. Oh, Papa Craig, we have lots of deep canyons with quiet draws that wildlife go to in bad weather. Yeah, they'll be just like us. They'll seek the safest places they can find, for sure. And a Bigfoot would be no exception. I'm sure if there's caves around, they would just go get in the caves and just wait it out pretty much.
Yeah.
They live outside and deal with bad weather. Yep, they have no choice.
Yeah. I think it's instinct that, that they know what to do. Like underground animals, like groundhogs and mice and things like that during an earthquake, they will come up to the surface and, and you don't want to be below ground in an earthquake.
Nope, because you can stay below ground for a long time if you are.
That's one thing. And there's actually a study that supports this infrasonic theory. And it came about from this guy named Stanley Coren. And he was what Stanley was actually doing was studying whether dogs suffered from like seasonal affect disorder. Like how some people in the wintertime, they don't get enough sunlight and they get depression and things like that. And man, this dude, he had like 200 test dogs. Can you imagine having 200 dogs?
No, he don't go nowhere.
That's almost as bad as Vicky. Ricky. And but one day almost all of these dogs went nuts. I mean, they lost it. And what Stanley couldn't figure out was what was going on until an earthquake hit. And it registered like 6.8 on the Richter scale. But one thing that was interesting about this, that he had 14 dogs that had hearing impairments. And those dogs did not get anxious like the other 160 dogs before the earthquake hit. And, that just kind of, it's easy to speculate that the strength of an animal's hearing can attune an animal's sense to the low tones of an earthquake. And it really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's uncanny. People think it's something weird or supernatural, but it's not. It's a natural thing. and there are humans that are more in tune to it than others.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I imagine a person that has no eyesight or bad eyesight is probably better hearing and in tune to their surroundings than somebody that relies on their eyesight. So, yeah, that 200 dogs. Really?
200.
Ooh,
Woo.
good grief.
But that's what he was doing. He was doing an experiment, and it had nothing to do with their senses and
Right.
how they know that something's coming. They said like 160 of them were just going nuts,
Right.
before this earthquake hit. But scientists have observed that sharks change their behavior whenever storms are coming through. And it's probably because of the pressure drops,
Yeah.
And they swim to deeper waters. And it's not hard to notice that birds and insects, they will just disappear before a storm hits, even if it's just, rain, a thunderstorm that's coming through. You're not going to see bees flying around or birds. They know that it's coming. And so they go and they seek shelter in the best place they can and they hunker down.
So, where's the best place for a Sasquatch to seek shelter?
I would say kind of like what Papa John did and what I don't know if they still
Papa
tell
John,
us.
you're making
I
me
mean,
want
Papa
a pizza.
Papa Greg.
Man, pizza and wings would be good.
John Garrison.
Here's my address, John. They
But
won't deliver out here, though, so don't worry about it.
They used to always tell you to seek low ground. And, even if there's an indention that's just 6 inches, go for that.
Yeah.
And, but, what I guess what you got to worry about is missiles, any type of debris that would be blowing around.
Oh, yeah. Because I saw a lot of pictures of vehicles from this past tornado this weekend that it had 2x4s just stuck all the way through them.
Yeah.
It had a concrete block that was stuck to American wire fence where it had knocked the block into it. Crazy. It's unbelievable how powerful they are. But I don't know.
But, I just don't think that it's supernatural powers.
No.
I think that you could say it's in their DNA. It's their instinct to know what to do. I tell you something really interesting that back in 1975,
I was 6 years old.
were you in China?
No.
But back in 1975 in China, they evacuated a whole city before an earthquake hit because the animals that were in that city just went berserk and was showing signs of anxiety. And they knew that something bad was coming. And they evacuated this whole city. And it's no telling how many lives it saved by doing that.
You know how they sensed it? It was from this, say that word, Mark.
Not me.
Piezoelectric discharges. Piezo. That's how they sensed it, Mark. Right there. It's all science.
Yeah, I do believe that. I don't know what that word means, but just it was like with those dogs. Apparently, it had something to do with their hearing, and that they could hear that something was coming. Uh, Another thing could be vibrations, low tone, infrasonic vibrations that an animal could actually feel, and we just don't have those type of senses like that. They're just not in tuned.
The only thing I can equate to what an animal may feel is like whenever we reach a higher altitude and our ears get pressure on them.
Uh-huh.
That's about the only thing I could say that is similar to what an animal may feel in that situation.
Yeah.
That they just get a pressure on there, that they know something's not right, because normally that pressure is not there. Piezo, JD Sedona says. Mark.
Okay.
Piezo. Piezo. My bad. Not Zio. I'm still stuck on Papa John's. Man, that sounded so good. But I'm fat enough. You speaking of earthquakes, it looks like a volcanic eruption would be similar to an earthquake. It looks like that buildup would still be noticed by them.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's been any scientific studies known about that or not, but sure, probably around Mount St. Helena or something, probably people noticed wildlife running for their lives, probably. Yeah. But Mount St. Helens is one area that we got undocumented reports of Sasquatch fatalities because of the volcanic eruption.
Right.
And I have a little story from it that I cannot say is 100% true. I don't know. But just a brief statement out of it, and this comes from Washington Bigfoot, was placed in charge of a pile of dead animals in particular. The pile was covered and no one was allowed to come near it. Armed U.S. National Guard personnel were guarding this pile. On the day that they were going to move this group of bodies, this guy was standing very close to the pile and was told to keep his mouth closed about what he was to witness. When the tarps were removed, he was amazed to see the bodies were those of Sasquatch. Some badly burned and some not. They were placed in a large net and lifted in the back of a truck, which was then tarped over. But this story goes on to say that they filed a Freedom of Information Act on this, and it says there was no documented reports of Bigfoot or Sasquatch carcasses, and there were no projects to attempt to locate and or recover any bodies. And that is from the United States Department of Agriculture. But if they covered it up, would the Freedom of Information Act really make them tell the truth?
Well, that's just kind of like the USGS saying that there's no connection between animal behavior and natural disasters.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how the government, I'm about to get you
blocked. Don't get me blocked. I don't care. Oh, man. Yeah, but we've heard that story a lot about Mount St. Helens, that people found burnt bodies, half burned. I even heard a story that injured Sasquatch came to a military vehicle, a search and rescue, and was telling them telepathically or verbally, I can't remember, where some other members of its family were held up in a cave and they were stuck in there or something to that nature. And they went and recovered some of them that were dead, some were alive. And that, I don't know if that's true. I'd like for it to be true, of course, but I mean, it sounds far-fetched to me. Do you think that's a possibility?
I think it is. And I remember hearing that story, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And it really sounded like a believable story that this injured Bigfoot was just seeked the humans to try to get help.
Yeah. I think it had been badly burned on one side or something, but who knows? I would figure as much as they try to avoid us, that whenever they're in dire straits, they would come and try to help us, just like we hear of them helping humans when they're in dire straits.
Yeah.
So there's some compassion there, even though there's no trust. There's compassion. So,
Right.
Well, this story is absolutely 100% true or not, don't know, don't care. It's a great story.
Throw that comment up from
one?
Francisca.
The USGS?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting.
She's trying to get me fired. USGS used to say there is no such thing as a foreshock regarding earthquakes. Years later, they use foreshocks in their studies. Do you know what a foreshock is?
Yeah, that's the before shocks.
Thank goodness. I thought it was shocks off a Ford.
But that's a great point. Thank you, Francisca.
Yeah. It's funny. The government will let civilians quote science before they'll ever quote it to the civilians.
Yeah.
For some reason. I don't know why. They try to act like Big Brother or the weird uncle that wants to hide everything from you. I don't know. We're all grown up. Precursor shocks, foreshocks. We know, Francesca, I was just playing. I talk dumb, but I ain't that dumb. Yeah, I am. Everyone bring their foreshocks to the great.
And you can't take that Bama Murdoch nowhere.
Nope. They also wore lab coats. I think she's talking about the story or something, I think. Yeah. Can Squatch said if it's on Reddit, I'd be skeptical. Yeah, I agree with that because I read search and rescue stories about stairs in the woods. And man, that was some of the greatest stories I ever read. And then I found out it was all crap. Why is it you get into a story and then you find out it's crap?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're in it 100%.
Yeah. I remember a couple of years ago on the Discovery Channel or Animal Planet, they had a 2-hour deal on mermaids and sucked me right in. They started playing sounds and showing video and blah, blah. And then at the end, it says something about this is for entertainment purposes. No, I don't think they did say that. I think I looked up the doctors on the internet and there wasn't no such thing as those doctors. And then I typed in, was this documentary true on mermaids? And it's like, no. And I'm like, gosh, they did it so well, too. I don't know. It's great.
I don't know.
You know what that means, Mark?
Well, I'll tell you what it means.
I'm gullible.
It means you shouldn't say mermaids and suck in the same sentence.
Why not, Mark? Canned Squatch has got a story about Abraham Lincoln inventing the internet. I know that's false because Al Gore did it. He said so. I heard him, and it wasn't on Reddit. It was on national TV. Mr. Lee, I didn't get into the mermaid thing either. I just thought they really made a true discovery.
Well, they built it up all week. I remember.
Yeah.
And they built it up all week, and you thought, wow.
Yeah, they acted like they had legitimate evidence that was backed up by science.
Yeah.
And they presented it that way. And then they lied. They flat out lied. That reminds me of a movie I watched about a UFO abduction where they had the interviews of the woman that was supposedly getting abducted. I can't remember the name of the movie. But I watched that movie and I was like, holy crap, I can't believe this woman went through this and has this. And then they showed a dash cam picture from a cop that was sitting there at her house for surveillance, and it showed the UFO over her house. I'm like, man, this is unbelievable. I can't believe this is true. Go type it in on the internet. No, it was a fabricated story just for the movie that they presented as true. So anytime you watch a documentary, a movie, or anything, and it says based on actual events, there may be one actual event that's true in that movie. It may be them going to get a burger at the Dairy Queen or something. That will make the whole movie based on actual events.
Yeah.
And that's ridiculous. Mike's Adventure said it's the fourth kind, and I believe it. And Neoma Flynn said it's the fourth kind. I believe they're right. It's a good movie, really good.
Yeah.
And they had me buying it all the way through it. Gullible. Just put gullible right across my forehead. But anyway, I don't know what that has to do with weather and Bigfoots, but
well, you know, I think we kind of covered about all that we can cover on it. But for me, it was waking up Saturday morning and having all these PMs and getting phone calls. You know, man, that Bradley Hatcher, he was really concerned. And I hadn't seen none of the videos, but after I saw the videos, I understand why he was really so concerned and calling me. And we all got a lot of calls and PMs and messages and texts, and it's very much appreciated. And it really, for me, it says that we're just not friends with benefits on here, that we're family on here, and that what, you know, how many times have you seen where somebody is sick or somebody has lost someone and they mention it in chat and they get bombarded with well wishes, you know, for that person.
I guarantee you somebody else gets bombarded with prayers on behalf of that person also.
Yes.
So
and that means a lot to me. I know this past week on Sawdust Beast, I blocked somebody from even coming on our channel because I heard I was sent a message, a screenshot of somebody talking about the integrity of Debbie Jones. And I have spent over 1,000 hours, well over 1,000 hours in the woods with Debbie. And I know her integrity. And if you think you're going to sit back behind the keyboard and talk smack about Debbie Jones, I'm going to smack you down. And I'm not going to tolerate it. I'm not going to stand for it. I'm not going to, well, that's strike 1 out of 3. No, because I know her. And you know what I would suggest for people in this community, when they read something, research it for yourself and find out for yourself before you listen to somebody else's opinion and you just piggyback off their opinion.
Yeah.
And I think this community would be a whole lot better served if people did that.
Yeah. That's why people don't bring out evidence anymore.
Absolutely.
Worth anything, because you're going to get lambasted by people that are, I don't know if they're jealous, lazy. I mean, this community is driven more by the trolls and the negative than they are the positive people. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of good people in this community that really work hard at bringing evidence out. But some of it they hold back because it's so good that these trolls are just going to start tearing it down immediately. So that's why I don't care nothing about it. I just go out and enjoy the experience. I share it. And if you want to call me a liar, have at it. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing with me. You can say just about anything that you want to about me, and it just rolls off my back like a water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
But man, you say something about one of my friends, and you liable to wake up in the middle of the night and find me standing over you.
I hear you. But I mean, what's there to gain in this by lying?
Yeah.
There is no golden parachute waiting for anybody. It's
Right.
not a race against each other who presents the best evidence. There's nothing at the end of it. Nothing.
Yeah.
Except finding out and proving to the world that these things exist, basically.
And you know, that's the thing about me and you. And I think that's why me and you have gotten along so well from day one, that we're not even trying to prove to the world that they exist. We're out there for the adrenaline rush of the interaction with them whenever activity starts ramping up. And that's what we're out there for. And as far as Bigfoot goes, but that's just the icing on the cake. What we're there for is to be with our friends. And that's what this meet and eat is about, is for people that are in chat and they talk to each other. We're going to give them a place, a location to come to where they can talk with people that they and meet with people that they talk with in chat and be able to spend the weekend with them. And that is the purpose of this meet and eat.
Yep, I agree. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
I mean, we're going to meet some fantastic folks there, guarantee it. And we're going to have fun. So if you're even thinking about coming, come on. It's going to be great.
And one thing that I want to add, if you tuned in late and didn't see Shelly on at the beginning, she went into some more details of the meet and eat. But one thing that I want to add that we didn't talk about is if you live way out of state, that you can, if you want to fly in and rent a car and drive to the camp out, we are going to do everything within our constraints to set you up. Larry and I and Shelly and Debbie all have extra tents And we can bring things like that you can just pack a carry-on bag and come in, and we will take care of food for you or whatever if you're coming in from like long distances. And I know that I hooked up CD Squatcher with Robin Griffin. Christine she comes to everything we have, and she's flying in from Florida, and we just love Christine.
Yep.
And so whenever Robin had messaged Shelly, we can pull things together and help each other out and make things convenient. That's what they did for me when I went down to the Everglades for the 168. Jeff Townsend just brought all kind of stuff for me.
Money.
You can't hide money. So, even if you're far away and you want to come, just email Shelly, or if you're on Facebook, you can comment on Shelly's post on there about the camp out, and we will bend over backwards to help you get in there and enjoy your weekend.
I will say this real quick. Somebody asked Toy Hauler okay to bring? Yes, it's okay to bring. If you got a four-wheeler, there's a, Turkey Bay is within 3 miles of this campground where you can go ride ATVs or whatever you want to during the day. Go fishing. You can ride ATVs, UTVs. I think they even have a little area for Jeeps if you want to take your Jeep in there and get it muddy, which I get mine muddy everywhere else. But there's all kinds of things to do. There's a planetarium. There's a nature center. There is a home place that they show old frontier living skills. The bison and elk range. You're not far from Murray or Dover. And what's on the other side? Aurora. But Murray's probably the biggest town that's close to it. And if there's anything, if you need some modern entertainment like movies or anything like that, you can run to Murray and be there in 30 minutes or so from there. So,
well, who would do that, Larry Porch?
I did it last time. Hey, I promised my sister I would take her to watch the new Halloween movie, and I kept my promise.
Yes, you did.
So
that's one thing about Larry. If he tells you he's going to do something, he's going to do it.
Or die trying.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't have anything else. I just want y'all to all pray for the people that were impacted by the storm. There's many people that lost their lives. A whole lot more people lost their homes and possessions, which can easily be replaced for sure. But still, there's a lot of people grieving right now because of these storms. So if y'all just remember them in your prayers, if you can see a way to donate to a legit organization for charity for these people, please do. And if not, prayers they'll do as much good as any money. So anyway, I don't have anything else. Mark, you got anything else?
That's all I've got, Larry.
All right, folks, we'll see y'all on Beast TV Thursday night. Don't forget Moog is on
tomorrow night
and Thursday night after Beast TV, so tune into him. And now Debbie Jones comes on here. How about that? Every time when we're getting off. Yeah, probably. But anyway, folks, who's the guest Thursday? Don't yawn yet. I'm going to let you go to bed in a minute.
I would have to look it up. You put me on the spot.
Philip Palmer.
Philip Palmer.
Yep. All right. We'll see y'all Thursday night on Beast TV. And I will. What am I going to do, Mark?
I don't know. But night, footers. Thanks for joining us.
That's what I was going to do. Good night, everybody.
Your neighbor tells you about the unstable man in the cul-de-sac who claims to have been abducted by.
Good night, everybody.